Well, good morning, folks. So today I want to talk about maintenance that I do. Um, Routine maintenance, weekly maintenance, and then oddball maintenance that just pops up. So let's start with maintenance that pops up. So I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I have a 40 breeder that sits right over here. You can't see it on camera, but um, so I'm running a Title 75 on that filter. I come in here in the morning and my filter's making noise. So I'm so used to that filter when it makes noise, I already know what it is. So I run a pre-filter on the suction tube, and I've modified this Title Series filter so it only draws from the suction tube. There's no more skimmer feature on it. I've got it all blocked off because I just don't like that skimmer feature, especially in a planted tank because it'll suck up plants and roots and everything else. So I don't want that. Anyway, so that pre-filter, that yesterday morning when I come in here, I could tell it was plugged. The filter's starting to rattle and make noise because it's trying to suck through so much gunk and it can't get there. So I take that off, go clean it, put the the clean filter sponge back on there, start the filter back up, boom, right back there. Maintenance is done. Um, Same thing with my weekly maintenance, so what I do weekly is I use these test strips right here from Ram Co-op. Weekly I check my water and I test all my tanks. And I used to test it a lot more often, but I've got to the point where my tanks are so stable that I pretty much know my waters are fine. And just about every time I test them, I'm like, oh, that's good, that's good. So when do I do water changes? So on my 40 breeder, which is a heavily planted tank, I don't even remember the last time I've done a water change. It's been a good while. I just basically top it off from evaporation. I just started a new 125 maybe 3-4 weeks ago, and it's heavily planted as well. And that tank, the water is fine in it. I am just waiting for it to become more seasoned before I really do anything with the water. I'm going to let the tank do its thing. It's going to figure itself out, and it's going to grow. The plants I bought from Father Fish, the stem plants, heck, some of them are already growing out of the water. Um, so that's a good sign that it's doing well. And when I test the water, it's like between 10 and 20 parts per billion with nitrates. So that's pretty low, which is not bad. And my 40 breeder, when I test it, it stays about the same. Now my 180 back here, I used to change water on this thing every single week without fail. But I've got to the point where I keep testing it and I'm like, when I'm sitting at between 10 and 20, I really don't need to do water changes, so I don't. Once I hit around the 50 mark or a little over 25, 30 in that area, I'll sit there and I'll do a water change on the 180 here. But one thing I always do with my 180 without fail every Saturday is I change these filter socks. So these filter socks, it's a 4-inch sock, and I don't know, it's about 14 inches long, something like that. It has 2 of them, and I change both socks out every Saturday without fail. And what I end up doing is I take the socks outside and I turn them inside out, and I take my garden hose and I spray all the gunk and stuff that the filter socks have caught off of it. And then I go and throw them in the washing machine and just with bleach, and I run a cycle with bleach. And then when that cycle's done, I turn the socks right side out so they're back normal, and I run another cycle without any bleach, just straight water, and just run it. And then, like I say, I pull them out and then I hang them here to dry. And like I say, this Saturday, these ones here will go in the tank, in the sump below. And I do have spare ones. I have brand new ones I've never used yet that are in my closet. And in case these ever get wear out or fall apart and need to be replaced, then I have spares for there. My 75 gallon that's sitting over here now, it is just straight sand bottom, and I got my Warus in there, my 2 Warus. They're a breeding pair. They've laid eggs in there twice, but both times they eat their eggs. I'm hoping at some point they will breed and actually come to fruition, but maybe my water parameters are not what they need for their eggs to hatch properly. I just don't know. They've laid a ton of eggs back here in the 180, and that's why I moved them over here to the 75 to see if I can get them to hatch eggs without all the other fish over here eating them. So far, no luck. But that tank as well, so I'm running a CJ Whale 500 on there, and I also got a Tidal 55 that's on that same tank. I just ordered a Tidal 110 that I'm going to put on the 75, and I'm going to pull the 55 off of there, and I'll keep that as a spare filter. The CJ Whale, I mean, it's doing a fine job cleaning, keeping my tank clear, but I just don't have the flow. I used to have an FX6 on that 75, and I like the flow with that FX6. So I don't have a bazillion dollars to go out there and buy another almost $400 FX6. I don't want to do that. So I went on Amazon and got a Tidal 110, which that'll give me plenty of flow in that tank. And I'm going to put it on the end of the 75 so it throws flow across the tank. That'll do a good job for that 75-gallon tank. And I'll keep the CJ on there as well. So far as filter maintenance goes, so all of my tanks, every one of my filters have pre-filters on them. My FX6s, the one on here is an FX6. My 125 in the living room has an FX6. They both have pre-filters on it. I did away with that big intake square thing at the end of the FX6. I saw a video by Ben Ochart on how he did the pre-filters for his FX6. So you take that piece off and you take the piece that slides down and you drill a bunch of holes in it, put your filter pre-filter on there, and there you go. You have a pre-filter for your FX6. So that's what I've done, and it works really good, especially in this tank because my Severums, the Warus, the Geos, all of them spit sand everywhere. And what was happening, I was getting sand in my FX6. And so that's a no-go. You don't want sand in your filter or getting your impeller because it'll ruin it. So I put that filter, pre-filter on there. And I got the large one from Aquarium Co-op, and it fits perfect on there. And I took a little piece of tubing, plastic vinyl tubing, to wrap around the stem of the filter tube, so the pre-filter will stay on there. It hugs it nice and tight. So that works out really well. And then over here, these two tanks here, they have the Tidals on there and the CJ, and every one of them have a pre-filter on there. So once those pre-filters get looking funky, you take them off, clean them, and it extends the life of the maintenance on your filters. So the longer, especially for me, the longer I can spend not worrying about cleaning my FX6s, which are heavy, and I already have a terrible back, so I don't want to be picking them up and moving them a lot. So what I do when I do need to mount it, I check them about every 6 months. I just pop the top off, and, okay, they're not bad. Put it back on, let it go for another few months. But with the pre-filter on there, I've noticed that even at 6 months, my filters are staying relatively clean, and the flow is still good coming out of them. So that's cool. But what I do when I do boom maintenance on my FX6 to help ease the lifting of that big heavy bucket is, while it's running, I will shut the intake, or not the intake, the intake off, and then I'll pop the aquastop valve off the intake on the filter while it's running, and I'll let it just pump the water out of the FX6 and put it into the tank. That'll lighten up the FX6 so I can pick it up easier. And what I'll do is I'll just shut the other valve off, unplug the FX6, pick it up, take it out, because it's lighter now. It's half empty, or even more than half empty. The only caution I would tell you is if your tank's full to the rim, and you do that, you may overflow your tank. So just be aware of how high your tank is. You know, for my 180 back here, it's really not an issue because I have a sump, and the sump will suck up anything extra that I put in there. But like my 125 that's out there, if it's full all the way up to the brim, you're thinking there's 3 to 5 gallons in that FX6. So just be cautious of how much you dump into there. But that's what I do for maintenance. Really, I've got it down to a science. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, and as you get more experience and more time with your tanks, the more seasoned they get, things get easier. But just remember, it takes work. So if you're not into maintaining your tanks, then I would recommend you not having them, because it does take work, and you are supporting live animals. So the goal is to keep your fish alive, safe, healthy, and efficiency is the key that we need as fish keepers to be as most efficient as possible. And you don't need to make your tank sparkling clean, because you're killing off a lot of stuff that the fish really use. My 40 breeder, once again, like I say, I don't do nothing to it other than filter maintenance. I don't vacuum it. I don't do anything with it. And I clean the glass. That's it. I don't go scrubbing the rocks that have algae on them or anything like that. And like I say, right now, I actually have a blackbeard algae thing going on in that tank. I've fought it from time to time, and it comes and it goes. And right now, I've got a good batch of it, and that's okay. I've ordered some Siamese algae eaters. Like I have 4 of them in here, and I ordered 3, and I'm going to put 1 in the 40 breeder, and I'll let him deal with all that blackbeard algae in there. He'll have a feast. And then I'm going to put 2 of them in my 125. That's, like I say, it's newly tanked, but I brought a lot of plants from my 75 that had algae and stuff on them, and so we're going to stick them in there, and we'll let them control the algae in there. I have Corridoras in there. I put 2 clown plecos in the 125 as well, but I don't know that the clown plecos are going to really do much with the algae. They seem to like the wood more than they do anything. So anyway, that's my maintenance or my routine maintenance, and some of the maintenance that I have to do, you know, oddball maintenance that pops up from time to time, you know. So anyway, I hope you like, subscribe, check that notification button, and we'll see you on the next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.